There's no way to get around it. There is no positive spin you can put on it. 1993 was a shitty year for the WWF. Period. There's a combination of factors. You have, you know, Hogan gone. Flair at this point in time was gone. Andre's dead. No more Warrior in the company. Savage is in a diminished role. Um, This wasn't a good time for the company. A definite period of transition, and a lot of the guys that would, try and carry the company over the next few years, like the Bretts and the Shawns, and eventually the Razors, the Diesels, you know, the Takers. Frankly, a lot of them weren't ready for that. And what that led to was some bad times in 1993. And I know people will talk about 95 being a horrible, terrible year, and it was. But man, 93 for that company can bang right along with it because it had some crap. And when I think of crap from that year, I think about WrestleMania 9 for sure. And I also think about Survivor Series 1993. It's bad. The good thing for the company, though, is that 94 was at least a little bit better. But usually there are a couple of things I use to determine and measure, if you will, the strength or weakness of a company and their product. I could look at the scene at the top. I could look at, let's say, the depth and talent level in the tag team division. And then I could also look at the mid and undercard to see the performers, the storylines, the talent that's there or not there. And it kind of gives me an idea of how that company sits and what have you. And frankly, at this point in time in 1993, the WWF had nothing going for it. The main event scene was doo-doo. Tag team division wasn't nearly as good. And then the mid card and undercard, you had some things going on there, but it definitely wasn't a great time in that company. This was just bad. And this show was just bad. This is one of the most brutal Survivor Series that you'll ever sit through. And that's just the truth of the matter. I actually legitimately think that after the first match, you could pretty much shut off this show and just forget about the rest of it. Because the rest of it is pointless or stupid and just a bunch of crap. Opening match, very good. You got Jannetty, you got Savage, who took the place of Mr. Perfect, Razor Ramon, the 1-2-3 Kid. On the other side, you've got IRS Diesel, Rick Martel, and Adam Bomb. Oh, God, Adam Bomb. Just some of these corny names for characters that they had in the mid-90s. It was like Vince was trying to recapture the cartoonish era of the 80s and was failing miserably. This is bad. When you look at the company today and you see some of the stuff that's going on and you see what appears to be a company that is incredibly out of touch with the times, there's precedent for this. It was the early and mid 90s, from like 93 to 95, 96. I mean, 1-2-3 Kid, Adam Bomb. It's just bad. Just bad. Now, with that said, they still at this time created some very good characters like Razor Ramon and Diesel, but just still bad. But this match was okay. Clearly, to me, the best match of the night, which really isn't saying much. It really, really isn't. Um, then you've got the Hart family against the Jerry Lawler team, except Lawler can't appear because he was in the middle of a rape, a rape situation where he allegedly had sodomized and raped an underage girl, which sounds like something up the Lawler wheelhouse, even though it was later, I believe, found that the girl made up the charges. They had built up all this time a feud around Brett and Lawler, only Lawler doesn't fucking appear. So you got Shawn Michaels takes his place and 3 other of his knights, and this was just fucking trash. The only good thing that came out of this match, frankly, I mean, think about it. This is a major Big Four pay-per-view for the WWF, and you've got Bruce Hart and Keith Hart in wrestling capacities on this show. Do I really need to say much more than that? I don't give a damn how good Brett and Owen and Shawn Michaels were, and they were all good even at this time. It's not nearly enough to overcome the shit that was this match, this whole gimmick, this whole stipulation of this match, this whole story. It's just stupid. And that stupidity cannot be transcended by or conquered by 3 of the performers involved in this match. It just can't. Like I said, the only good thing about this, the only redeeming quality about this, was that Brett and Owen got into it, and this was laying the foundation, the seed for Owen later on down the road kicking the leg out from Brett's leg, and the great feud that they had in 1994. So this match still accomplished something that would have some positive repercussions and consequences for the company in the following year. But that doesn't mean it was any good at this time. It still sucked. The Heavenly Bodies versus the Rock and Roll Express was a Smoky Mountain Wrestling Tag Team Championship match. Why in the fuck you would have this match when you only have 5 matches on your damn card anyways? You are going to devote one of your 5 match slots to Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I know Vince and Corny had a working agreement at the time and blah, blah, blah. But again, this is one of your biggest shows of the year. You've got the Heavenly Bodies. You've got the Rock and Roll Express. 2 tag teams that Vince McMahon damn good and well knows he doesn't want any part of, and he's never really going to do anything with if he has them in the fold for an extended period of time. Why in the bluest of blue fucks would you have this match knowing a lot of the people that are there are going to have zero familiarity with any of these fucking guys? And frankly, a lot of the people watching are watching on television via pay-per-view, which it wasn't as nearly many as there had been in previous years. This was not a good performing Survivor Series in terms of live event attendance and in terms of pay-per-view buys. Why the fuck would you have this match on this card? Just stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid. It's an okay match that seems out of place with people, frankly, at that time that you didn't give a fuck about from a WWF fan standpoint, and that's the truth. The match that pisses a lot of people off and pissed a lot of people off back in 93, the 4 Doinks. The people wanted Doink. They didn't want the 4 Doinks. This is fucking stupid. So instead of giving the people what they wanted, which was Doink, you're going to give them the Bushwhackers and Men on a Mission. Ugh. Yeah, I almost always regret going into this time frame of WWF because I know there's just going to be a lot of shit that I'm just like, what? What the fuck were you doing? The 4 Doinks. The crowd's chanting, I think it was, where's Doink or we want Doink. That's not good. This has Vince's handwriting all over it. They want Doink? We're going to give them 4 Doinks, and not one of them's going to be the real Doink. Oh, Doink, Doink, Doink all over this fucking match. Excuse me. And then we get to the main event, which is probably one of the lamer, anticlimactic pay-per-view main events that the WWF has ever had. And when I say ever had, I mean ever had. The All-Americans against the Foreign Fanatics. This was bad. Let's look at the participants. When I talked about the undercard, and I talked about the tag team division, and I talked about the main event, and those all being things that I used to determine, how a company is sitting in today's times or how they sat in the past. Let's look at this. In your undercard of that time, you had things like the 4 Doinks against the Head Shrinkers and Bastion Booger and Bam Bam Bigelow. That ain't impressing anybody. You look at the tag team division. You had a Smoky Mountain Wrestling tag title match on this card. Let's think about that. And then we get to the main event. And no knock on the people involved in the main event, but let's call it how we see it. On the All-Americans team, you've got Lex Luger, who Vince was trying to make into his new Hogan, going back to that July 4th, 93 shit where the Lex Express came, and here's Lex, and he body slams Yoko on the aircraft carrier, and you're off to the races with several months of boring crap where you got Macho Man and Men on a Mission rapping about get on board the Lex Express. Well, people got on board, and then they quickly jumped the fuck off. The Undertaker, the Steiner brothers. Then you look at the other team. You got Yokozuna, Crush, Ludwig Borga, and Jacques. I want you to think about this for a second. This was a Big 4 WWF pay-per-view in 1993. And some of the participants in this main event match included Ludwig Borga, Crush, and Jacques. Think about that for a second. I don't need to tell you where this went. It didn't go in a good direction. In particular, when you got to the big confrontation between Lex Luger and Ludwig Borga, that just went over like a fart in church. It was bad. I think at this point in time, the people that were there live were like, let's get the fuck out of Dodge. This is terrible. Hurry the fuck up and get it over with. And that's just kind of the way it came across. I mean, so this is your main event. Terrible. Your mid-card, undercard, terrible. Tag team division, terrible. This is a bad time for the WWF. And this is a bad show. And the good thing about Survivor Series 1993, from my standpoint, is that it's so bad that I remember pretty much everything I need to remember about it in order to go back and review it, that I don't actually have to go back and watch any part of it whatsoever. And that perhaps is the saving grace out of all of this. If you ever come across this being featured or something on the WWE Network, I'll do you a favor and tell you this. You could skip it. I know you'll see names billed like Randy Savage and Razor Ramon and Diesel, and you'll see Bret and Owen Hart, and you'll see the Macho Man Randy Savage, you'll see the Steiner brothers, you'll see The Undertaker, you'll see Yokozuna, and you'll be like, oh, this can't be that bad. I promise you. Skip it. You won't be disappointed that you did. Just letting you know.